The downside was they took my play off for a couple of years. But I wasn't away for long.
A visitor to the Great Ormond Street Hospital for Sick Children, and it's none other than Peter Pan, charmingly portrayed by Celia Lifton. Here's a sight which would have gladdened the heart of Sir James Barry. To the lives of the small patients...
Never forgot the sick kids, and soon started seeing them again.
Not just you. Everyone was getting in on the celebrity act by then.
Including that mangy dog.
Children love animals, Peter, and the sooner you get that, the better.
Never smile at a crocodile. No, you can't get friendly with a crocodile. Don't be taken in by his welcome grin.
When I was a child, it was the crocodile that seized my imagination, because I didn't understand that there obviously be two people, inside this creature, wending its way across the stage. So it's a wonderful stage idea. It's also actually, when you think about it, quite a good symbolic idea, because it's tick-tock, isn't it? The crocodile with the clock. And in fact, this is a play very much about time.
In Neverland, time stands still for everyone, except for old Hook.
Smee, he said huskily. That crocodile would have had me before now, but by a lucky chance he swallowed a clock, and it goes tick, tick, tick within him. And so before he can reach me, I hear the tick and bolt.
He laughed, but in a hollow way. Someday, said Smee, the clock will run down, and then it'll get you. Hook wetted his dry lips. "Oh, yes," he said. "That's the fear that haunts me."
I suppose growing up is not only one of the most exciting things that happens to us, it's also one of the saddest, inevitably. And I think the fact that Peter never wants to grow up really does echo with something very deep inside all of us.
I mean, there are always Peter Pans, only these days they don't tend to fly in green type, they tend to ride Harley Davidsons and things like that.
People used to call me Peter Pan. I've noticed recently that in the last 5 or 6 years they've stopped doing it, which has been deeply unpleasant for me.
The tragedy of Peter Pan is that Peter is a boy who won't grow up. And Wendy is a girl who must grow up. And they're in love with each other. And it's something that is doomed to failure.
Peter warmed himself by the fire and looked down at Wendy as she sat turning a heel. There's nothing more pleasant of an evening for you and me when the day's toil is over than to rest by the fire with the little ones nearby. It is sweet, Peter, isn't it? Wendy said, frightfully gratified. Peter, I think Curly has your nose. Michael takes after you. Peter, what is it? I was just thinking, he said, a little scared. It is only make-believe, isn't it, that I'm their father? Oh, yes, said Wendy primly. You see, he continued apologetically, it would make me seem so old to be their real father.
Dreamin', dreamin', dreamin'. Now, the 50s was a great time for kids. The music was brilliant. Families spent more time together and went on proper holidays. They even sent a dog into space. Smart or what?
They had children's television too.
That's Bill and Ben, the Flower Pot Men.
Don't worry, Weed. We haven't forgotten you.
But you can see the strings.
I think Weed was a fairy. Fairies disguise themselves as flowers.
Weed wasn't a flower. Weed was a weed. Anyway, forget the flower bed, Tink. Let's talk about me. Cue drum roll. Cue lights. Cue my finest hour. In 1953, Walt Disney Studios put me up there with Cinderella, Mickey Mouse...
Dumbo?
Of the happiest day, that's the way
It's an animation classic. But for my taste, Peter is much too cute. He's too feminine and sweet.
At least I'm played by a boy this time.
I think Tinkerbell, they've got absolutely right. A lot of people think that she's too sexy in the Disney version, but that's precisely what Barry described. That she's dressed in a skeleton leaf, cut low and square, revealing her beautiful body. She is a real sexy little grown-up woman.
Goodbye, Peter. Shame some of us don't have what it takes.
All right, men, take them away. Announce me to take care of Master Peter Pan.
After the Disney film, my name became more famous than ever, which made it really tough for that other Peter, Peter Llewellyn Davis. He never did come to terms with people thinking he was named after me.
What's in a name? My God, what isn't? If that boy, so fatally committed to an arrestation of his development, had only been dubbed George or Jack or Michael or Nicholas, what miseries would have been spared me?
I suppose Inky could have called me George. He was the inspiration for my character after all, but I don't know, it just wouldn't have been me. George Pan. Nah, Peter Pan's much better.
In 1960, Peter went down to Sloane Square tube station and threw himself under the train. And even in death, he couldn't get rid of this label of being the real Peter Pan.
It's me, Peter. The Never-Natives lost their battle.
The Never-Natives were defeated.
The pirates took Wendy and the children.
I'll rescue her. I'll rescue her.
You mustn't drink that.
Oh, that's just my medicine.
It's poisoned.
Poisoned? Who could have poisoned it? Wendy told me to take it, and I promised to. And I will do just as soon as I've sharpened my dagger. Why, Tink, you've drunk my medicine. It was poisoned. And you drank it to save my life. Oh, Tink. Dear Tink. Her light is growing faint. If it goes out, that means she's dead. Her voice is so low, I can scarcely tell what she's saying. She says,
I'll get better if the children say they believe in fairies.
Do you believe in fairies?
And they've got to clap.
Clap! Clap if you believe in fairies! Clap, come on, louder! Louder, that's it!
Thanks, guys! I owe you one, Peter. Ooh, grown-ups dressed up as fairies.
That's the swinging 60s, Tink. Grown-ups acting not grown-up was groovy, fair, but far out. My influence again. Kids are really in control now. Dropping out and doing their own thing.
Sounds right up your street, brother.
Nothing new there. Not for me, anyhow. By then, I'd had 60 years of doing just what I wanted. And still people couldn't get enough of me.